Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Welcome to lecture 23. In last lecture we discussed various aspects of regional planning and few planning theories. In this lecture we are going to see the urban planning methodologies and some case studies. So, before we start, let me begin with the little bit of background. We have discussed that within the urban governance framework, urban planning is a very important job. In 74th Constitutional Amendment Act, you have seen that urban planning has given the highest priority, and whenever we work at the urban sector, the management of the planning function is a very important task, because based on this management of the planning function, the actual development and the quality of the living depends. So, within that, the basic methodologies, the practices which is going on and which is done before this time, and also few technical parameters we should know. So, let us start. So, this picture you have seen, I do not think that we need discuss again. This gives a very broad framework of the government. I will come to the planning framework. This also I have shown earlier. The planning framework earlier was the top down approach, and now it is a bottom up approach. I will show how we are going to that paradigm. So, this is important. You can have a look that in this framework there are multi-level planning framework. In 3-tier government framework, the governance framework is connected with the planning and development framework as well. So, in the left side you can see the central government, state government, district, metropolitan and urban local bodies level, and gram panchayat and ward committee level. So, we are discussing about this level right now. So, planning is conducted by the central government by planning commission, and now it is Niti Aayog. At the state level, state planning it is done by state planning board. At the district level, I have told earlier, it is done by district planning committee, and at the metropolitan level it is metropolitan planning committee, and at the central level it is called as 5-year plan. State level plan, it is also 5-year, and the district level it is district plan or metropolitan development plan or perspective plan. So, periods are mostly 5 years, you can see 5 years, but when we talk about the metropolitan plan or a plan for a region, it is 25 years, and the plan provisions is done by the Central Finance Commission. For the state, it is State Finance Commission, and it comes through the State Finance Commission to the local level. So, at the block level or at the urban local bodies level, it is the development plan, or in short we call draft development plan and annual plan. So, development plan is usually done by 5 years, and annual plan is done for 1 year, and the finance is provided through the central the state finance commission. So, below that there are gram panchayat and ward committee. So, gram panchayat and ward committees, they make their own plan, and those plans are basically integrated in a comprehensive manner to make a city level plan, which we are calling a draft development plan, and many draft development plans are making one regional plan or metropolitan plan. So, this plan is basically physical in nature, economic and social factors are also considered, and whereas the central and state level planning, which is by and large it is a economic plan which gives a broad term direction for the country and the state. So, these are the planning typologies we deal. So, perspective plan is basically for a region or district, usually for 20 to 25 years. Development plan for city or urban area, usually it is 5 years. In some cases it can be more than that also, if the concerned legal provision, that is the State Municipal Act or Corporation Act, allows it. Then within the development plan we make zonal plan and annual plan. So, zonal plan is basically every city is consisting of various zones. So, for all those zones we do the zonal plan and followed by the annual plan. Sometimes the zonal plans are also divided into area development, area schemes or local schemes or local plan. So, do not be confused if you come across various terminologies. So, area level schemes or local scheme or local plans, these are more or less synonymous. Basically objective of these are to make detailed plan of the local areas which gives a input to the draft development plan and zonal plan, and then we do the project reports for every project. So, project reports are done for individual projects. So, this is the categories of and the hierarchies of the technical documents which we make under the planning. So, perspective plan, development plan, zonal development plan, annual plan, and project reports. Mostly if you work at the city level, you will be formulating the city development plan or urban development plan, zonal plan, local area plan or area development schemes and the project reports. But yes, at times you will come to the perspective plan or perspective plan and the higher level of plans which you have to integrate your plan with those kind of planning. So, this we have already discussed. So, this is the basically the hierarchy from top to bottom, which gives a hierarchy from the central government to the local level government. Now, let us discuss the planning process. First I discuss the planning process in principle. So, every planning process starts with a vision. Okay. It tries to accommodate the vision of the people of that area. So, after the vision there is a stage called existing scenario. So, on the basis of the existing situation of the city, for each and every parameter it is estimated or it is screened or it is assessed the condition of the city. For example, the condition of the road and traffic, condition of the economic profile, condition of the social profile, etc. And based on that and with relation with the vision, some objectives are framed. Now, the difference between vision and objectives are broad in nature, and vision is basically a long term kind of a dream or aspiration, whereas objectives are basically very specific in nature and it should be presented in a measurable format and which should be achievable within a time frame and it should be reasonable, so that it can be completed within a specific time bound framework. So, objective should be SMART: specific, measurable, achievable, reasonable and time bound. So, once we make vision, objective, existing scenario, then we analyze the existing scenario and makes various scenario in terms of development, scenario 1, scenario 2, scenario 3, and based on that we make strategies, policies and projects to reach any one of the scenarios. Now, how to select the scenarios, what is the prioritization preferences, that depends on the overall discussion level, overall analytical discussion within the planning framework, within the elected representative, technical person, etc. So, based on the preferred scenario or the second preferred scenario, the adequate strategy, policies and projects are framed. Now, let us see the within this framework there are few parameters which we discuss. First is land use, then land use plan, infrastructure, facilities, amenities and norms and standards. In some discussion we already discussed this the land use, where we discussed gross land use and net land use. The gross land use basically gives a land use at area level, and net land use denotes a land use at the plot level or site level. So, for a city, if you represent a land use map or land use plan where you have various gross land use which is shown. So, it denotes the gross land use where minute land uses are not highlighted, whereas when you make area development scheme or local area plan, we sometimes we show the plot level or site level land uses also. Apart from that, there are infrastructure, facilities, amenities based on some norms and standards. So, at the end of any planning exercise, we have to either specialize or specify the infrastructure, facilities and amenities for providing basic services based on some norms and standards. So, norms and standards in India we have discussed earlier also. We follow URDPFI. For the planning standards, we follow public health manuals, CPHWO manuals, or we follow NBC for building related codes. So, these are the codes, norms and standards which are followed even within the planning framework. So, next see the planning control tools. There are few control tools that is required. We discussed earlier the land use control in terms of land use and development control plan. Any land use plan or land use control plan, whatever is the name, the objective of the land use control plan is to control the development of over the land. So, it denotes the development, for example, residential, commercial, etc. Whereas, development control regulation, in short DCR, it denotes the control of the building. Then apart from the DCR, we can there could be building rules and laws which denotes the very details of the building and the ancillary facilities or the amenities or the functioning of the building or the procedures of the building plan approval. And then there could be other tools like advertisement, trade, license related acts, etc. So, I am just showing you few points which is prescribed at URDPFI guidelines. So, development plan is a well written document and which should be in accordance with the statutory provisions of the relevant act. If it is a state municipal act, if it is a state municipal corporation act, it should be accordance with that. So, provisions in the state municipal act should be maintained in a development plan. Then it should be prepared for a period of 20-30 years maximum. Mostly in our country it is 5 years, which we follow. I will show some examples also. Participatory planning is recommended, including segments of society. So, participatory planning, in earlier some lectures we discussed thoroughly that what are the stages and the variety of the participatory planning. Today also I will show some example. So, there should be some elements, existing conditions, an assessment of the deficiency and statement of the vision and the mission as I discussed, the proposal and also some highlights on the implementation, how the project will be implemented. Just have a look, even though the picture quality is not very good, I will share the PDF document with you. This is the typical plan formulation process for any urban area. In this process, if you see that there are, this is stage 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 stages. So, in the stage 1 you can see that it is the aims and objectives of the overall planning which is met. At stage 2 it is the visioning exercise including quality of the life and participation. So, stage 1 and 2 is basically vision plus objective setting, whereas objective the stage 3 it gives the norm, standards, planning principles and techniques. In 4 it is the stage where you are preparing the alternative plans based on the situation, and in the 5 it is the selection of the alternatives. So, these are the very broad stages which is prescribed in URD PFI guidelines, which is indicative in nature. I will show some of the practices which deviates little bit from this planning framework also, but it is important to keep this in your mind. You can see that as a general process of planning, as I told, it is prescribed by the URD PFI, the aim, objectives, identification of the site needs, so projected requirement, and then the using the stakeholders consultation you can make the inclusive plan, and you can formulate the plan, then send the plan for the approval, then implement, monitor, and then you come back to the decision and review the revised plan and go back to aims and objective for the next phase of the planning. So, this is a general process of planning. It can be used for city development plan as well as for a area development plan at the schemes also. So, this stage denotes that how a projected requirements are assessed at the urban local bodies level based on the primary surveys and the secondary surveys. Using remote sensing and geospatial database, we make the projection of the population and based on that we identify the projected requirement in terms of each and every infrastructure which is related. Then we also discuss the priorities and the carrying capacity of the municipality or the city as such, and for deciding the priorities these are the guiding factors for the priorities, and we understand the infrastructure gap based on that, and there are the coverage of the infrastructure and the life cycle of the infrastructure of the existing infrastructure should also be taken care of. So, ultimate objective of this stage is the identification of the projected requirement for the projected population. So, this stage this stage is placed somewhere in between the planning process. Every planning process has the projected requirement of the city. So, you can see that this is an example of the contents of the development plan which we were called as city development plan. In short, so during JNNURM, in the last lecture we discussed thoroughly about the background of the JNNURM. So, in this exercise the city development plan was formulated for the first time in the country for pan India for all the local bodies, and it was also prescribed that plan will be done through the participatory process. So, just have a look at what were the components of those city development plan. So, these are the basic information about the city profile, then vision and goals and strategies which are very essential at this initial level, demographic profile, land management and urban growth, inner city characters. Inner city means most of the cities are unplanned or organically developed. So, those cities are having inner city, core city characters, that character has to be depicted very clearly. Then economic profile, financial profile, infrastructure, environment profile, disaster management, urban poor and slum, conservation and heritage management, governance and institutional management, community consultation, then a SWOT analysis, investment framework, city investment plan and institutional reform. Now, you can see that this exercise is very exhaustive in nature, but however, it appears that it may be I mean it may lack some amount of the very rigorous estimation of the for the projected requirement. However, it takes care of all the requirement in terms of the current and the near future requirement. Now, we see few example of draft development plan. In many municipal act, the basic plan framework or the document is called as draft development plan, because municipalities are not supposed to make the final development plan. It is ultimately approved by the either district planning committee or the metropolitan planning committee. That is why it is called draft development plan. This draft development plan was done in the city of Calcutta under Kolkata Urban Services for the Poor. So, there are component 1, component 2 and component 3. So, you can see that component 1 is basically focused on physical parameter, component 2 was focused on economic and social parameter, and component 3 was focused on organization parameter, like organization development plan, process and system development, citizens interface and financial. So, it is even if it is a planning document, you can see that component 3 takes care of the governance element, so that the planning provisions or the development works can be conducted or can be streamlined in a better way through the efficient organization. So, these are the municipalities around the Kolkata metropolitan area which were involved that time to make the draft development plan. About 41 urban local bodies, they within this Kolkata metropolitan area, they made the plans within this time. So, the stage 1 involves 1 month time, stage 2 9 months and stage 3 3 months and stage 4 6 months. I am not going into much details into the intricacies of these stages, but you can at least see the keywords like introducing, constituting the policy group, constituting the technical group, formulation of the vision and objectives, preparing plan and plans, finalizing plans, integration, quality review and public validation and adoption, and also approval stage. So, you can, if you just remember these keywords, you will understand the basic stages of the planning. So, these are few pictures we had during our visits in the municipalities. We got these pictures during our appraisal of few of the municipalities. This is how at the urban local bodies level they do the workshops to understand the requirements of the people. These workshops are done at every ward level, at every mahallas and neighborhood level. So, every workshop has to be documented, and whatever the citizens feedback and the suggestions are there, that has to be properly listed and prioritized during the preparation of the plan. Now, let us see some of the physical plan or the land use map, land use plan, how it looks like. So, this is the plan for Delhi master plan. I showed this earlier also. This plan shows the basic land use plan of the city. So, this land use is basically gross land use. Bangalore, this is another new township in Kolkata, where the percentage of the land uses are also shown, like residential 50%. So, well, after this development plan is done, there are another few stages which we also do, that is zonal development plan. The objective of the zonal development plan is to make further details of the plan at the zone level or at the area level. So, the contents of the zonal development plans are like the introduction, the background and analysis based on the development plan, conceptual framework, some development strategy will be there, conservation and improvement of the environment, compliance of government policies, zoning regulations, development regulations, resource mobilization and implementation, and implementation framework. Now, please observe that these stages definitely is a additional task which you are required to do at when you make a zonal development plan, because during the development plan or a city development plan, the zoning regulation, development regulations are not dealt, but at the zonal development plan coming out with a zonal zoning regulation and development regulation which actually guides the physical development built environment of the city. So, this is very important in terms of the area level detailed development guidelines. And after the zonal development plan, when you take each and every neighborhood and mohalla and make detailed plan, it is called local area plan. In some cases it is called area development schemes. Okay. So, in short it is called LAP. So, names could be different. So, sometimes it can be called as zonal plans. So, please see that what is the exact terminology which is depicted at your municipal laws or municipal act. So, this plan you can see that it gives a clear cut indication of the plot level land use. So, plot level and site level land use was not there at the city development plan. At the local area plan, plot level land use is very important and it is essential to depict. You see another example of this is examples taken from the Karol Bagh and Bhashan Bihar from Delhi. So, in this map also you can see the detailed land use at the plot or site level. That is the difference between a local level plan or zonal level plan and a city development plan. A city development plan denotes or prescribes the gross land use at the city level or the area level, whereas the local area plan or zonal plan or area development scheme that denotes the land use at the site level or the plot level. So, whenever you see any local plan or zonal level plan, please see in details the land use prescription for each and every plot, because ultimately they are going to guide or control the development, and in terms of possible conflicts and possible indifferences in the municipalities it may happen. So, that is why you have to see very carefully that what is the implication of the local area plan. So, after the local area plans are done, then few projects are selected and few projects are detailed in terms of the detailed project report. So, let us see the contents of the projects and scheme. Any projects and scheme will have fundamental information like location, site planning, detailed drawing including technical drawing like plan, section, elevation, sometimes 3D also could be required, and environmental impact assessment. This is also very important task when you deal a very big project, for example, very large flyover, very large dam or very large riverfront development. So, all these needs environmental impact assessment as per the current law. Then spatial impact assessment could be required for some projects. Financial plan, project administration or organization, how the project will be implemented. And legal support and constraint. So, this project level, the contents of this contents will be there for every project report or the DPR. So, if you have seen any DPR, again go through the contents of the DPR and see very minutely. Definitely we will share some reference materials so that it will understand better. So, with this I conclude today's lecture. Today we discussed the various planning methodologies and planning provisions at the urban local bodies level and within their structured framework. So, we have discussed that at the urban local bodies level we do draft development plan or the city development plan in a participatory method. These plans are 5 to 20 years of duration. Usually we do 5 years planning exercises. Basic stages are visioning at the objective setting, then assessment of the existing situation, third is the analysis and the scenario building, and fourth is the strategy and the projectization and implementation plan. So, based on that we have shared example of JNNURM city development plan and then draft development plan under CAST program. And then after discussing this we have seen the elements of the zonal development plan and the local area plan. The objective of the zonal development plan and local area plan is to make plans at the very local level and it denotes the land uses for each and every plot, each and every site, whereas the land use prescription, density prescriptions are broad in city development plan and the master plans. And after seeing the zonal development plan and the local area plan, we have seen the contents of a projects. So, projects are the final deliverable after the every planning is done, city development plan and zonal development plan is done. So, those projects will have few essential parameters that we have discussed with you. So, with this I conclude this lecture. Next day we will start the lecture on the infrastructure and services, which is essential element to deal in the urban governance. Thank you very much for attending this lecture.